From Tally to Cali,
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up!
Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.
One ball, corner pocket.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi.
And Corey Clark.
Wake up! What is up, everybody? It is Wake Up Warchant, presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. Coming up on today's show, Joshua Farmer in the portal. What? And an exercise on the NFL draft and the college football playoff. Wake Up Warchant, presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill in Tallahassee, Florida. CPTallybar.com's website. Every day, Monday through Friday, weekdays, I should say. Lunch specials from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. On Wednesdays, the best chicken wings in town. 5 of them and French fries for only $8.99 at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. Check it out. Hopefully you were at trivia last night. Hope you enjoyed that. And don't forget, tomorrow, bingo night starts at 7 o'clock. Win drinks, prizes, house cash, fun times. Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. We're also presented by Vitamin Energy, vitaminenergy.com. Promo code WarchantBOGO, B-O-G-O. That means buy one, get one. Buy one, get one free. Add any item to your cart, get an item of equal or lesser value for absolutely free. Corey, I think the Workout Plus might be kind of nosing its way into the lead here. I like this one a lot. It's vitamin energy, so gives you 7 hours of energy, no sugar crash. But it also has citrulline, which is apparently a vasodilator. I didn't realize this, Corey, but it makes your veins a little bit meatier, a little bit bigger, helps some blood flow, which helps some body parts out that you might not expect, everybody. But I like it because it makes my arms look good. I'm just saying, it makes my arms look good, though.
Okay. That's what you meant?
Yes,
That's what
absolutely.
you meant? Okay, good, perfect.
And it also has carnitine in here, which apparently also turns fat into energy. So it's like $1.25, maybe not even that much when you use the promo code WarchantBOGO. VitaminEnergy.com. Again, promo code is WarchantBOGO, B-O-G-O. Try the Vitamin Energy Workout Plus. Corey,
I'm good, and Brady had the last 2 days.
Ooh.
So we're getting him on the vitamin energy train, like full time, not just dabbling in it. He's going to be a vitamin energy consumer.
Yeah, 2 feet jumping in like Joshua Farmer to the portal. But Warchant.com, Ultimate Seminole Sports Source. Thumbs up, please. 5-star rating and review, please. Subscribe. $29.99 full premium access. You could jump into the thick of it all, everybody. Into the thick of it. And this has been an interesting one, Corey. Me being a spectator on the sidelines, I know I think you and Tom did instant reaction. Then you hopped on headlines yesterday with Jeff and Ira to talk about it. I was I get how fans work, man. I get it. I was there too. Well, when this happened, I'm like, I can't wait to read all the comments that are just going to kind of diminish his value or the projections that we had for him, and whatever his loss. There's a lot of, when Jeff Cameron was calling this the spring of hurt feelings, a lot of fans are, a little bit upset about this, maybe a little bit more than upset about it. I think they realize what Joshua Farmer could have been for this team, not necessarily what he was. I hate to ask you for the third time speaking about this, Corey, but what were your sort of first reactions when you heard that Joshua Farmer was entering the portal? I don't want to say shocked, but I was beyond surprised.
Yeah, I was surprised. And not only did this is my third time talking about it, there's a column up on Warchant right now with more of my thoughts on it. But yeah, with this one, look, man, he was not going to be a starter. But let's not diminish what he could have been. Like, I think with Farmer, maybe Sam McCall too, like these are guys that might end up being really good, like might end up being NFL players, and they're not on your team anymore. Farmer hurts a little more because I feel like you've developed him for 2.5 years. Mm-hmm. For them, and it didn't feel like he was just getting ready to blossom.
Oh yeah.
Like him and Darryl Jackson. Fabian's been here forever. He doesn't have to go through every single rep of spring practice. But Darryl Jackson and Josh Farmer both played a lot, and they both were good. I think Jackson was a little better, but not by much of my calculations in the spring. Just watching him, just on the eyeball test. There's a chance he's on the cusp of something. It's a chance. He's not there yet. He hasn't proven it yet. Last year he had 15 tackles. But this is not a law. This is not, love you, Steven. This is not Steven Dix. This is not a guy or Keyshawn Helton. This is not a guy that was not going to play for you, and you do wish him the best of luck. This is a guy that was going to be in your rotation that I think was going to get anywhere from 25 to 35 snaps a game. And now he's gone, and you've lost those snaps. So yeah, man, let's not sugar. And I think you're right. I think people understand this is a potentially, not a critical loss. This isn't Johnny Wilson. It's not Jared Verse, but it stings, right? That's the word I use in the column. Yeah. It stings, because not only was he going to be a depth piece and a rotation player, chance to maybe be a star. We don't know yet. We'll see.
He's got tread on the tire. He wasn't a rental. He's got years left. Like maybe this year, to your point, Corey, 20 reps maybe this year, but next 24, he's probably, you're thinking preseason all ACC kind of guy, first, second team sort of guy. So yeah, I think it more than stings, man. I don't, unless you want to say that Dennis Briggs was ahead of him, and I don't know how many people that were out in practice. I don't think
he's not.
That. It's the same thing as what Coach Papucha said to us when it came to defensive end, right, Corey? When it comes to defensive tackle, like you really want 5 guys, like minimum. You like Fabian, and let's say Fabian and Darrell Jackson, and then I'm thinking like Fisk and then Farmer, and then you go Lyons and Briggs. So now the onus really goes on those guys to kind of fill the gap there and stem the tide. But I think stings is probably the most apt term.
It's not a gut. It's not like Georgia Tech losing that running back or Pitt losing the wide receiver. It's not the Jordan Addison. It's not like that where you're like, what is wrong with this sport?
Right.
It is a bit of a it stings. It hurts because not just of what it means for 2023, like you said, but what it means for 2024. And also, what if Farmer becomes a second-round pick? What if he ends up reaching that potential that we all saw? So we saw more than a few flashes this spring of him being a guy, like a real guy. And he's going to get drafted from another school. He's going to go help another school win games after you develop him for 2.5 years. So I get the frustration and the angst that comes from that. But the overall point, right, Aslan, is this is life, man.
Yep.
This is life. Like, you still won in the portal. You still won at Farmer's position in the portal. Because Jackson and Fisk, that's a really nice combo to bring tackle to go along with Fabian Lovett, who, by the way, was also a transfer. So you've already won the defensive tackle game in the portal. It's just that, man, you kind of want the best of both worlds. You want to get all the good guys you want from other schools and then hang on to your precious ones. And I'm not being facetious there, like the precious ones that you think could develop into something special. And I think Farmer is one of those guys that last year at this time, I'd have been like, oh, but whatever. Even December, I'd be like, all right, man, I guess Farmer could have been something. But, I'm not going to wring my hands about losing Josh Farmer. Now there's a potential of this being a tough one that could come back to haunt you. But again, what did you do wrong? That's part of my column too. Is just like it almost doesn't matter. It really it doesn't matter why he left. Whether it was maybe he doesn't like Odell, maybe he doesn't like Darrell Jackson, and he wanted to get away from him. And I got to play with this guy again because they were high school teammates. Maybe it was the depth chart that he wanted to be a starter, and he knew he wasn't going to be a starter on this team. Maybe it's because he's getting a better NIL deal somewhere else.
Yeah, maybe that.
No matter what it is, everybody's going to think it's the last thing I just said.
Yeah,
that's always going to be how college football is at this level when you're transferring from a Florida State and you were going to play to somewhere else. Like, again, Steven Dix is not an NIL casualty. Neither is, name any of the offensive linemen that have left. Those are not NIL casualties. I understand with a guy that's in the rotation, like a Derek McClendon, like a Malik McLean, like a Sam McCall perhaps, and definitely like Josh Farmer, that's going to be the presumption, is that it was an NIL casualty. But what are you going to do, man? You got a finite amount of money. I'm sure Josh Farmer had a deal with a collective. Maybe he thinks he can get some more money somewhere else. You can't just chase that dragon, right? At some point, you got to be like, well, go see if you can get it. And that, again, I'm not saying that happened. Maybe he just hates Odell. Clearly, that's not the case, but maybe it's something like that. But that's always going to be the reaction of the fans, right?
Yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, I don't want to belabor it any further than we really have to because there aren't a lot of facts out there on this. But to your point, though, Corey, like you want to keep the precious ones. Like I think I understand this is a resource. NIL's a resource, if you will. There's a finite amount of it. You just wish you can keep everybody happy. I know that sounds maybe pie in the sky, but you would figure that the way that the staff has been able to communicate with guys and bring them in, like lure the guys here, keep the guys from maybe going to the draft this past off season, that there'd be really good lines of communication to where, like, yeah, you know, there might be somebody, I guess, you know, this is maybe, you know, everyone's going to deal with this, but like losing Josh Farmer just doesn't add up, man. Like that's somebody that there's no way they expected this. Until, you know, maybe it was a little bit too late. And then I guess to your point, like chasing the dragon, you know, but what happens now? Like if you're Daniel Lyons or you're like, well, hey, we just lost Josh. I know he was on the roster, so like I'm going to be playing a little bit more. Can I get some of that? Like, so I feel like there's always going to be some kind of residual effect from it. And I'm not pointing fingers at anybody, but again, this it wasn't a good day for Florida State football, at least in terms of, you know, maximizing what you think you have this season and looking down the line. But again, they've shown their ability to go and find guys in the portal and upgrade. So I guess we'll just hang our hats on that for the time being. Yes.
Yeah. Well, and you just hoped that you thought that the two deep, well, really the 40, you know, yeah, the two deep was set. Like you had everybody here that was going to be a part of the two deep, except to you were adding at other places. But defensive tackle, you didn't expect to be losing anyone of consequence. And I would say Josh Farmer is somewhat of consequence. But, you know, what it comes down to now is just speaking about this 2023 team in particular, again, I still think you have a terrific rotation of 3 defensive tackles. The problem is Darrell Jackson has not been cleared yet.
Right.
We think he's going to be cleared. It would be crazy cleared, but the NCAA does crazy things all the time. I don't even know if there's anybody in Indianapolis anymore. I don't know if the lights are still on. There might not be anybody there to make a decision. So who knows how that's going to play out. But if all of a sudden he's not cleared, well, now you got a real problem. Yeah. Like you've got Fabian Lovett and you've got Braden Fisk, who's coming off a shoulder injury. That's it. That's it as far as proven guys. Like Dennis Briggs, we know what he is. I think Tafasi might be a guy, but he's not ready. Yeah. I think Daniel Lyons is the guy that will benefit the most from Farmer leaving. I think he might sneak in and get a lot of those reps. He's certainly got a chance. He needs to get ready over the next 4 or 5 months because now all of a sudden he becomes a guy that, you know, would be a bonus to a guy that needs to be counted on. But also, you know, the portal is still open.
Yeah. The 30th? Till the 30th, I guess? Right?
Well, no, the portal, the taking out of the portal is open until what? August?
Oh, right. Yeah, that's until you have to put your name in it until the 30th.
You have the 30th to put your name in, but you can take out at any time. So that being said, it'll be interesting to see because we don't think they're going to stand pat with what they have on the roster from the portal side. Like they're going to continue to lose a few guys here and there. You hope they aren't any more important than Josh Farmer was. And then, but on the flip side, they're gonna bring in at least a couple, and maybe that changes the calculus of who you're looking at. Like, say there's a pretty good safety out there. You're not sure if he'd start for you, but he'd probably play. And there's also a pretty good defensive tackle out there. You don't think he'd start for you, but you know he'd play. What do? You know, and you only have one spot left. You know, those are the decisions that have to be made now because of the Farmer news. You were all set at defensive tackle. You were done. And now there's a chance that you might need to go get another one.
For what it's worth, he is still listed on the Seminoles.com roster as we sit here and talk about this.
And they're usually pretty quick, aren't they, Aslan?
Yes.
Yeah, they axe those guys real quick when they announce.
So, again, he tweeted that his intention is to enter the transfer portal. We haven't seen confirmation from the folks that actually have access to the portal that he is in it. So, you know, let's not, you know, maybe start slinging arrows at this guy that actually might end up sticking around. Because if I'm not mistaken, I think he was the first commitment of the 21 class. And, like, there was this whole thing about, like, Norvell wanted it to be him because, he was going to be a homegrown kid and, the position of need. And, just like to hope that maybe this can be kind of salvaged, if you will. Because, the portal is open, but you go after somebody else, and it's like, what, are you going to give them the amount of resources you had, earmarked for Farmer? Then,
right.
Is it going to be as good as him? And then if you have to go ahead of your skis to get somebody that's better, then, like, why didn't you keep them? And things that I'm glad I don't have to worry about. Thanks to the folks that do, though.
And Jeff on Seminole Headlines had a really good hypothetical about this. Again, this is not Josh Farmer. We don't know what Josh Farmer's situation is. But here's the problem with NIL. Look, I'm all for players getting paid. Here is the issue that this creates. Is let's say he used a Jerry. So because Jeff always, that's his go-to name is Jerry, even though, it's ridiculous. But let's say Jerry has a good spring. Not Josh Farmer. Keep in mind, I'm not talking about Josh Farmer. I don't know the ins and outs of what went on there. Yeah. Jerry has a really good spring. He knows he's making less than, say, a transfer that came in. So he goes to the collective and says, I think I deserve X amount more money than you're giving me. And they say, well, go see if you can get it elsewhere because we're not in that game. You signed a contract. This is your deal. And you're beholden to it. We're holding you to that. So then he enters his name, or he tweets out that he's entering the transfer portal. If you're running the collective, this is my opinion, you can't then go back and say, all right, man, what do you need? We need you to stay. Because when you do that, then what does the guy that's starting in front of Jerry do?
Yeah.
Because he's going to be like, oh, is that all it takes to get my quote-unquote salary doubled is to tweet that I'm entering the portal? Okay, hey, I'm entering the portal too. What are you going to do? So you can't – you know what I'm saying? Like you can't run it like that. But at the same time, isn't it crazy that we have this conversation at all? Isn't this weird? Like
that's one
3 years ago, we'd never talk about paying players. Yeah. All we've talked about for the first 15 minutes of this show.
Well, it's like you said, there could be any number of explanations, but we all pretty much know what the explanation really is. So we kind of center in on that. But hey, you got Braden Fisk, you got Fabian Lovett. Hopefully Daryl Jackson gets cleared. They really like Daniel Lyons a lot. I want to say, I think they used they said he could be special last year is a word they used to describe him. Obviously, they weren't saying last year he was going to be special, but they think he's going to develop into something special. So I
like Daniel Lyons a lot too, quite honestly. He's not as big as Farmer, who is, but for the last, what is he? Was he here last spring?
Yeah,
I think he was.
Yeah.
Each of the last two springs, he's made a lot of flash plays. Mm-hmm. Most of them are in one-on-ones. Like he's really hard to block one-on-one, and that's a good trait to have as a defensive tackle. So I just want him to get a little bigger, but I think this is his year. Like I think he might be the guy that sneaks into the rotation. It ends up being better than people were expecting. There is a chance he's the guy. I think right now it's Briggs. Probably Briggs is the guy that slides in there right now. Yeah. But Daniel Lyons I think will push because I think Daniel Lyons has more upside, quite frankly. So maybe he ends up being the guy that's the fourth guy. Maybe don't miss old Josh Farmer at all.
Conspicuously absent from this conversation, Malcolm Ray. He's still there, everybody. Mm-hmm. We know he's still here. Yep. So, yep. But, spring, maybe we didn't see as much from him as we'd hoped or something. I don't know. Yeah. I can only speak in code so well, everybody. You know me. I'm me and my big mouth. I saw somebody say this. Do you agree with this or not? They said anywhere but Colorado when it comes to Joshua Farmer.
Yeah. Well, look, man.
I think it'd be what if Miami's like, all right, you took our guy, we're going to take your guy. I think I'd be more upset because you're actually going to play Miami.
Yes, correct. Yeah, go to Colorado, man, and join that reality TV experiment and see what happens. At least he would have an interesting story. By the way, did you see the thing on Twitter on it was like Tuesday evening where one of the I really think the entire when Dion walks into that auditorium on his first day and talks to the team,
I'm coming.
And I'm bringing my Louis Vuitton bags with me. I wonder if you went and freeze framed that picture of the players in that auditorium. How many are left? 3? I mean, it is nuts. It is a dozen a day leaving that program, and including like the leading receiver and leading tackler.
Yeah.
But so I think that that would be, at least it'd be an interesting story to go. But anyway, so the Colorado kid was like, I'm in the portal. I want coaches to have my film. I want to give my film to potential recruiters, but the coach at Colorado doesn't allow it.
Yeah. No.
I don't know. Is that can't be true, right? Deion can't be that petty to like not allow huddle film to be given to the kid so he can put it up for people to watch.
He's going to change his tune if he. I could see him doing that, but I could also see him gauging the reaction on social media. Like, all right, I can't do that. That was kind of a jerk move. But yeah, there's several people that have tweeted like, "Hey, coaches, get at me. I can't get my huddle tape, so like I'll figure out another way to."
Yeah, it wasn't just one guy from Colorado; it was
several.
multiple guys, right? Yeah.
And the crazy thing is, some of the folks in the media are really rooting for Deion, and I'm not rooting against them.
But they are rooting way too hard for Deion.
Yeah, there's like, this is Deion's going to have the ability to bring in up to 60 transfers, and it's like, why is that cool?
No, it's not.
That's absurd.
Yeah.
But apparently Houston, their like running back who was like the AAC Rookie of the Year, apparently is entering the portal and is rumored to be favoring Colorado and Deion. So,
okay.
2 years ago he's the Rookie of the Year, so he's this will be his third season. But anywho, we're not wake up buffs. But
right.
Anyway,
right. I bet that's a show that people listen to now for the first time.
Yeah.
Since Michael Westbrook was there, Cordell Stewart was throwing the Hail Mary. Nobody's cared about Colorado football since.
People may be starting to care about Atlanta Hawks basketball. MyBookie.ag. You can bet anything, anytime, anywhere. They were 13.5-point dog. I mentioned, I'm like, Corey, what do we think about that? And Corey's like, I don't know. But I think deep down Corey wanted to go with his boys. But it's fine. Maybe the Heat tonight. They take on Milwaukee. They are 11-point underdogs. And they are up 3-1 in this series, but it does go back to Milwaukee. You can bet on the NBA playoffs. You can bet on Major League Baseball. Now, they've got XFL, golf, MMA, and they also have their casino. And when you use the promo code WARCHANT, your cash deposit gets a bonus instantly. So if you put like $100 in, I think you'll get maybe like you'll have $150 to play around with. It's a sliding scale. The example they give me is $200, but you can all start a little bit lower if you want. Anyhow, though, use the promo code WARCHANT. You'll get a cash deposit bonus instantly, and you can start playing with it right away. Let's see here, Corey. What do you think about the Knicks on the road at the Cavs? Cavs are giving out 5.5.
And the Knicks are on the road, and they're up 3-1.
Yeah.
I tell you what, man, I think I like that Heat game better.
Oh, okay.
If we want to go that one, I just think there's going to be a lot of pressure on the Bucks, and I think the Bucks will win that game. But I think it'll be closer than 11.5. I think because the Heat are playing with house money, like they'll play more carefree because they're up 3-1. They're on the road. They're a big underdog still, and they don't have the pressure on them because they know they got a home game waiting for them if they lose. So they can kind of be relaxed and a little more carefree. So I like the Heat plus 11.5, man. I think
plus
that's
11.
Going to be close.
Plus 11.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, I really like them plus 11.5. I just want to throw that out there. If you can find that
Give me the hook
somewhere, yeah.
Tease it.
But either way, I think I like that one better. I think that I like the Heat to keep that a game. It's going to be a grind out, like 91 to 95, 91 to 85 type game.
Come on, no, that doesn't happen anymore in the NBA, buddy. Come on.
No, I mean in the fourth quarter it will be that score. I'm
Okay.
sorry, you're right. Yeah, that won't be the final. It'll be like that sometime in the fourth quarter. It'll be like a 5-6 point game. It'll be tough scoring, and I just think 11's a lot of points in a closeout game.
It is. We saw it happen on Tuesday night, everybody. I mean, the Hawks took down Boston.
Celtics didn't want that smoke, did they? They didn't want it.
Hopefully you want all of it over at MyBookie. MyBookie.ag. Again, use that promo code WARCHANT. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere at MyBookie. All right, Corey, just to keep the show afloat here for a little bit more, we'll post the thread here. It'll be up on our site. So if you want to get involved in the Renegade Express, everybody, go to the Tribal Council on warchant.com. Go to warchant.com forums, Tribal Council. There'll be a thread pinned on top of there, and you just hop in the replies and pose your question. Also, I think starting May 1st, when you log into the website, you'll no longer be able to log in like using your username. It's going to be whatever your email was that you associated to your account when you signed up. So I think we've kind of given people the heads up on the website about that. But if you don't go on the boards all that much, but you listen to the podcast, just giving you a heads up. Make sure you know what your email address that you use to sign up with the website, because that will be your login credential moving forward. Otherwise here, Corey, I don't know how much the news of Joshua Farmer is going to affect this question, but figured I'd ask you this. It's to be maybe a little bit of a fun exercise. Give me a percentage right now, Corey, you think of Florida State's chances of making the college football playoff as we sit here now and just kind of think about life.
What a interesting query in late April. I would say to making the playoff.
Yes, making the playoff.
40%.
Wow.
30.
Okay.
Well, let's go down a little bit. 30. I was going to say 33.3 at first, but I'm a little more than a third, so I'm going to say 35%.
Okay. What if I were to tell you that a year from now they will have 3 first-round picks in the NFL draft, in the 2024 NFL draft? How does that affect your percentage of them making the playoff?
Is one of them the quarterback?
I'll give you one on offense.
Okay. Well, then that would either be John. Well, I guess it could be Jaheim theoretically too. Maybe one of the. Yeah. Okay. So verse, and then wait. So you have 3, but only one's on offense.
All right, you can have 2 on offense.
Okay. Then yeah, I don't know if that. No, if it was 2 on defense,
Is that what you want? Whatever you want, Corey. How about that? Whatever you want.
Because the offense is going to be good no matter what. The defense, if it has verse and then somebody else special that emerges, whether it's Fisk, Jackson, Cypress, my man Shaheem, somebody like that, if they emerge to become a first-round talent, then I bump that up to 50.
That's it?
Honestly. Yeah. I mean, come on now. How many first-round picks is Alabama going to have on defense?
I don't know. You think about last year. I mean, you had verse, so I guess you
sort of,
right?
You didn't have them like the full Jared Verse experience.
Yeah. So we got Jamie's the only one that we expect to get drafted for sure.
Yes.
There's other hopefuls, but he's the only one that seems pretty, certain that he's going to. I mean, not more than certain. He's going to get drafted. He's going to get drafted pretty early. And you had a 10-3 season, and you had some of these other pieces that will be developing and grooming and getting a little bit better. I just wonder, what's the number that would make us? Because, you see all these stats about, X and YZ school for having the most amount of guys drafted. And you're like, well, a lot of these teams actually haven't made the playoff. So, is there a number there that we would feel really good about? And I guess maybe to your point, though, for sure, though, defense is what would make you feel better. If you know that it's, what's the best 3-person combo? Jordan, Verse, and Cypress?
Man, as far as what? As far as Florida State reaching its potential?
Yeah, in 2023, if those 3 guys go first round in the 24 draft, is that the best kind of situation you think for how Florida State's 2023 season will play out if it's those 3 guys getting drafted first round in 24?
No, I think Shaheem would be a big – and again, I know that is a huge leap, folks. I'm not predicting Shaheem Brown to be a first-round NFL draft pick. But if he was, man, that's getting an enormous free agent signing out of nowhere. That's a guy that you think could be a decent college starter this next year, maybe. He hasn't proven much yet, and he ends up being a first-round pick. That is an enormous wild card in your favor. So I would say Shaheem or maybe one of the defensive tackles more than Cypress. Because I think a first-round corner is awesome, but, I don't know how much that impacts the defense. A first-round safety or a first-round interior guy to go along with a first-round edge guy, buddy, now you're talking. Now all the corners are going to look good because they got a great pass rush and they got, centers and guards being pushed into the quarterback's legs.
Have you started looking at LSU film yet at all, Corey?
No. You talking about football?
Yeah.
No.
They're number 1 in the country, I think, right now.
Yeah.
I think they did pretty well in the portal. So hopefully we can do the same for our baseball.
They did.
team.
I think LSU really cares about adding good quality baseball players to their roster. Hey, spirited debate on headlines, by the way, about the baseball program.
I saw the comments on the YouTube. Basically, I guess Ira was trying to play the good cop, or at least hey, everybody calm down.
As always.
What was your retort?
Well, I didn't do this to bring up Ira. I don't like talking about those conversations because he's not here to talk about it.
I know we're not going to.
Yeah, we are. But it was basic.
Coming from?
Well, I was saying look, I can understand. This is how I phrased it initially, and then it became my argument. But I was I can understand how a Florida State baseball fan would be all right, man, I like my pitching coach to make my pitchers better than they were last year, not the reverse. And I was like, well, they're all in different roles. It's not fair to say. And Whitaker is in a different role now, but he wasn't in February and March. Yeah. He was in the same role and wasn't doing as well. Connor Montgomery and Jackson Baumeister, I know they pitch on different days of the week, but they're still starting pitchers or have been. They're the same guys. I guess Baumeister's gotten a little better. But what was funny is apparently he got a text. I didn't even text them to see who it was from, but he got a text from somebody that was like, hey, that was listening live. Oh. That's like, tell Corey that several of the pitchers have gotten better this season. And I was like, did you say several? Like more than plural? What is that even? I mean, there aren't even that many guys on the staff that were here last year. But you can't sit there and argue that like Montgomery or whoever, man. Like Crowell got better, but he doesn't count anymore. He's done. Yeah. It was that. It was basically me making fun of Ira that the coaches are never to blame, and Ira making fun of me that I'm a dumb fan that doesn't understand nuance. Yeah. Which, I mean, hey, I can own that. I'll be hyperbolic every now and again. But the truth of the matter is, this pitching staff is horrible.
Correct.
And you do have pitchers on this team that were recruited. I know they're young, and some of them haven't done it, but that doesn't excuse this. I mean, they're horrible. But they're not his guys. I get it. We'll see how maybe they'll all make huge jumps next year. And maybe then I'll be allowed to criticize if they don't.
You figure like Parker Messick should retroactively get NIL money because like he was hiding a lot, right?
Well, him and my man Scolaro. Don't forget my man. Yeah, I looked at because I was looking up the stat. Like I think Armstrong last year had like an 8.80 ERA, and now he's like at 5. So I guess he counts as one of the several that have gotten better. But that said, I was looking at the numbers from last year, and so many of those guys are gone. Like guys you forgot about. Like I think Connor Grady, Ross Dunn, guys that pitched a good bit. Scolaro,
they didn't have
Messick,
Connor Grady last year. He was gone.
Sorry, Bryce Hubbard, those guys. Like they had guys, Crowell, who clearly isn't around anymore. So it was a completely different staff. It's just I haven't watched a lot of these guys from the start of February till now improve a lot. Yeah. Armstrong might be the guy. Certainly Montgomery isn't. Baumeister, he's had some incredible outings and some 2022 outings, and you'd like him to find some consistency. Because I'll be honest with you, Aslan, I see sophomores all across the country that are pretty good, that are lights out, that are consistently lights out. It's not just, you can only be good when you're a junior. And Baumeister's got skills. Like I'd like to see him dial it in. And I think, and we're done with this. No more. We just stretched out the show. We did what we could. But I think when it comes to pitching coaches or pitching in college baseball in general, one thing we never, ever think about or talk about as much as we should is pitch selection. Because it's not the catcher calling a pitch. It's the pitching staff calling the pitch. I assume it's not Link calling it. It's the pitching coach calling it. And with that said, sometimes they might make horrible mistakes.
Yeah, Meat was really transparent about that. He's like, it's like Belly was calling those. Belly calls the pitches. It's like, all right, I got you, Meat. All right.
So, again, way too early to make a declaration on what kind of staff this is going to be 5 years from now. My point is they certainly have not bathed themselves in glory through the first 40 games. And it's okay to admit that without it being without me saying that they suck. Yeah. And they're horrible. I'm not saying that. They have not had a great 2023. Let's hope they get better talent. And let's hope they call pitches better. Am I right, Aslan?
Yeah.
Call pitches better. Tell your pitches to execute more.
Yeah. I meant to mention this on the show the other day as we exit, though. But LSU did have their spring game over the weekend.
Oh, okay. Did you watch it?
No, but looked at some of the stats, read some of the reports on it. Jaden Daniels, Brian Kelly says, we think he's committed to being the best quarterback in the country. We've seen it through his work ethic. I think he was on the verge of moving in that direction last year. His play dictated that until he got injured. I think he's picking up where he left off. He went 10 of 11 for 168 and 2 touchdowns.
Okay.
And then meanwhile, Garrett Nussmeier, the backup, he was 5 of 8 for 139 and 2 touchdowns. But, Kelly says, I thought Garrett was equally as efficient at times, and he doesn't have the same protection that Jaden does. Given those circumstances, you could make the case he was equally, if not better, in some instances.
Okay.
Just trying to look at some of the parallels. they like their quarterback, maybe not as much as Florida State likes their quarterback, but they seem to really like Jaden Daniels, what he's been able to bring to them this spring. And there's a lot of sort of reports about him no longer like looking to run first. Because if you remember, he didn't really do anything to Florida State other than run, right? Like
Correct.
Just, like not even design runs, it felt like. It was a lot of just like, I'm going to drop back. It's not there. Let me scramble. Their offensive line, they have no depth, which is good for Florida State. They've had converted defensive linemen, multiple walk-ons playing on their second-team offensive line. So that bodes pretty well for Florida State going up against a team that's got a pretty weak offensive line when you feel pretty good about what your front four is going to be like. They are not bringing back Mason Smith. He went out in the 8th play of the game against Florida State in the opener, so he hasn't scrimmaged. He hasn't practiced at all. He's done some individual stuff. Kelly says that it wasn't worth putting him in harm's way. They think he'll be ready once they go in August. But they lost their 2 starting cornerbacks, Corey. They brought the one kid from A&M, Denver Harris, who got kicked off the team for, apparently getting Jimbo angry in the locker room afterwards. They went and got a transfer from Southeastern Louisiana and a transfer from Ohio State. So I feel like Florida State's safeties is kind of like the parallel of what LSU is going through with their cornerbacks right now. And meanwhile, though, their defensive line is not nearly as ferocious as I think it was last year going into with B.J. Ojulari. I mean, they've got a lot of transfers in there. Their linebacking core is pretty much retooled as well. And they have a kicking competition. Their kickers aren't doing all that well either. So a lot of the same sort of problems that Florida State's dealing with this spring seems like LSU has. Meanwhile, Florida State is much better position in their defensive line and their offensive line. I think their quarterback is probably just a touch better too. So that's where I'm at 134 days or whatever it is from that game. Anything cut your ear from what I just said? Anything catch your ear, rather, from what I just said?
No, I didn't. It cut it. It sliced it. Look, I think the most intriguing thing to me is the quarterback because I watched, Nussmeier, man, is a talented kid.
You like what he did against Georgia in the SEC championship?
I absolutely did. He threw for a ton of yards and touchdowns, and he throws the ball on time. I think the receivers like playing with him more because they know the ball's coming. Jaden Daniels can make some throws, but a lot of it is just scrambling around. Like he doesn't – maybe he'll take the Jordan Travis leap because Jordan Travis was like this to an extent. But the times I watched LSU play, which was a lot, he'd take the snap, he'd back up a couple feet, look – nothing's there. He doesn't get rid of it quick. He rolls to his right, and he's either going to run for a lot of yards or throw it away. He doesn't take a lot of chances, doesn't throw it across the middle of the field much. All that stuff that kind of bothered you maybe about Jordan a couple of years ago was what I saw in Jaden. And then Nussmeier came in, and it was like, oh, my gosh. Like this guy just drops back, grips it, rips it, throws it on time, in rhythm, and he looked like a traditionally NFL quarterback, like a starting NFL quarterback. Now, again, I'm projecting that. I'm not saying that's going to be the case, but that's just how he looked in the limited time I saw him. The point being, if you're Florida State, I think you'll like it. I think you'll like that Jaden Daniels might not be looking over his shoulder, but he's peeking kind of out of the corner of his eye. Like this is not guaranteed that he is the starting quarterback. Or let me put it this way. If he struggles like he did in the first half against Florida State last year, he is not guaranteed to come out and start the second half.
Little Jalen Tua action.
That's what I'm saying. So how does that affect his play? There's real pressure there from the backup because the backup's good and the backup wants to play and the backup's proven, quite frankly, that he can play. So Jordan, I can't imagine a scenario where Jordan gets replaced by Tate. He could do the Mastromano run across the line of scrimmage and punt it. And 5 times, and he's still going to start over Tate. They're not pulling him. If Jaden Daniels has 3 or 4 bad series or a couple horrible interceptions or is 4 of 11 for 35 yards and 3 punts, he might know that it's a pretty short leash, and they might bring in the other guy. So that to me is an interesting development. That it's not quite a QB controversy, but it isn't not a QB controversy either.
We'll continue to keep an ear to the ground on that. Maybe we'll get the LSU writer here on the show. Maybe at the 100-day mark.
There you go, 100 days in. Yeah, we should do that. But every milestone day, we have some another. Like 50 days in, we get Brian Kelly. How's that sound?
I was gonna say it'd be a good time to maybe like get an assessment on how a reporter that covers LSU thinks their spring went versus us.
Are they done? So they have their spring game, so they're done. Yeah,
Yeah.
we should do that this or next week, man.
Okay,
Let's do it. Let's not
100
wait.
days.
No, let's not wait. Let's do it.
We'll do it next week. We'll do one more show this week. We'll do a Renegade Express. Again,
We'll wait till after the portal's closed.
Yes, yeah,
That's when we'll talk to, because I'm sure LSU is going to lose some guys too, and already are. So let's wait till the portal's officially closed, and then we'll talk to an LSU on 3 guy.
Actually, I forgot to mention that too as part of the farmer conversation. Like for the people like, oh, whatever. It'd be like, well, what would you say if he ends up transferring to LSU? Like I'd be like, oh no, like I don't want, But anyhow, we got Daniel Lyons, we got Danny Lyons, Danny the Lion, Roar.
Yep.
Leo season, represent. All right, thanks for hanging in there, everybody. We made over 40 minutes. Not that we have to, but it just feels like we owe it to you folks to keep you company for a little bit. Thanks to Thomas Giddings, by the way. We'll give him a shout out on the live show.
It's crazy.
Dude, he's given us so many cool pieces of apparel, and the hockey jersey I wore on the live recruiting chat a few weeks ago, everybody, that was courtesy of Thomas Giddings, and now he gave us like a legitimate, not that one was illegitimate, Corey, but this one that you haven't received, but I've received, I'll give it to you next time I see you, is just a piece of art, man. I don't know why you went with the number you went with, but it looks great, though.
Dion.
Okay.
That's my dog. You know that. I grew up a huge Dion fan.
What's Brady? Does Brady wear 2 when he plays ball?
No, now he's 5. He was 2. He was 22, and now he's turned. Somebody else had 2 on this new team he's on, so he's become 5, which I guess is an upside down 2.
Yeah.
I guess we got that going for us.
Resourceful, that Brady Clark.
Yep.
All right, Jeff Cameron show 1 to 3 o'clock. We're thinking. I'm guessing. I'm hoping.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, Jeff and Tom work, man. I do too, a little bit behind the scenes, but not as much as they do. Anyhow, I'm gonna stop talking. Corey, thanks for doing this. He's Corey Maslon. Thanks for listening to Wake Up Warchant.
We did it. Love you, Ira.
Presented by the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.